What's going on, Nick Nation? Welcome to the Return of the Knicks podcast. I am your host, BX Sports Jedi Kev. What's going on? You know what so what do you want to talk about? Of course, we're talking about the New York Knicks making an announcement that they have parted ways, mutually agreed to parting ways with Scott Perry. Scott Perry and the New York Knicks are no longer together in business. He will be moving on when his contract expires in the summer. It could be any after the NBA finals. I don't know exactly the right date, but it's interesting to see that he asked for or agreed to mutually part ways. That's when, as well as the Golden State Warriors, Myers asked to be resigned or no longer part of that front office. So Bob Myers is out for the Golden State Warriors, as Scott Perry is out for the New York Knicks. Interesting. We all know Scott Perry was the New York Knicks general manager. He came aboard in the summer of 2017. We saw that turmoil what we had with Phil Jackson, Steve Mills, and you know what? I'm looking at my notes here for Scott Perry. You know, the Detroit native, the 59-year-old Detroit native. As soon as he came in the door, he traded away Carmelo Anthony, got us under the cap there, was able to make that trade to Oklahoma City. Remember for Enes Kanter, Doug McDermott. We got that second-round pick that turned into Mitchell Robinson. Could you say a little bit of luck? Maybe, maybe not. But he able to also move Kristaps Porzingis. Don't forget. Or able them to have money free up to sign Julius Randle in that summer. So that was a big feather in Perry's cap, allowing for Julius Randle to be part of the organization under Mr. Perry. We all know that we have. Let me look at all his acolytes as I read through here. You could tell that we were in the postseason. 2 years under his regime. Remember, it was the Knicks organization was a little bit of a firestorm, to be more under Scott Perry. Phil Jackson. Steve Mills, not Scott Perry, Steve Mills, but he was the general manager that brought an adult to the room, you could say. A lot of executives or people around the league didn't want to deal with Steve Mills. Scott Perry more, of course, we know he was an executive with the Orlando Magic here, living in Florida, in Orlando, personally, knowing what he was, part of the Magics, also with the Kings, part of the, he did see players like De'Aaron Fox come in, and he has that little bit of eye of good talent. As a talent environment, as a general manager, those are one of his big moves. That's cap space for Julius. Moving Kristaps Porzingis wasn't at the moment. You could say, was it a no-brainer? Maybe, maybe not. But man, that was a big gamble to take your franchise piece. That wasn't happy though, but just moved them there. And also Tim Hardaway Jr. What we got back in return, and the cap space was the most important of all for that summer. We all know how it was supposed to go. We all thought it was going to be. And you all thought it was going to be, players that kind of derailed the Brooklyn Nets franchise. But good thing, in a way, it's a good thing we got Julius Randle, because Julius Randle, under Steve Mills, regardless, is a two-time All-Star, most improved player of the league. Bringing him in here, also, the hiring, of course, Leon Rose comes in as an executive, and of course they kept him on for the transition. They transitioned over. They kept some general. He did have some good basketball context, although with World Wide West, they looked like they all got along there. But we kind of knew it was a transitional move until they had the footing of the franchise underneath. And also, if you're James Dolan, you wanted to keep him, Mills here, Scott Perry here under Leon Rose, in case Rose, we didn't know what Rose was coming into as an executive, never done this before as a team president now. A lot of names out there. Bob Meyer is the number one name that everyone's going to talk about as his replacement. I don't know if Myers will want to work under Leon Rose. Now, if you're telling me that he's going to be the team president, Myers, and a higher of authority, I could see that, but I don't think the Knicks will do that. That's like They right now they have look like they have a game plan. They look like a plan that they want to execute here in their front office with the stability. First and foremost, they have bought stability, regardless of the fact that they haven't landed a big free agent yet or bought us that big star that they've been promising or dangling. as a carrot to us, regardless of us, we could go back and forth and have that conversation. If Leon Rose is just dangling a carrot or a little bit away over his head, but under this regime, they have been to the playoffs twice. They've been to the playoffs twice. Coach Thibodeau, of course, they have stability in coaching. Remember, there was a revolving door of incompetent coaching, incompetent system being implemented. The triangle. Or at the end of the day, it's all about talent. And currently, what we see are our Knicks. We have talent gathering by either the front office collaborating together. Also, of course, you got Brock Holler. You've got a lot of, with the cap. You have a lot of good men in that room, adults, basketball minds. If you're Dolan and the Knicks, you have to make that call out to Bob Meyer, and it's not to play. And hopefully, it's not a power play where Bob Meyer comes in where you try to weasel and remove a Leon Rose. I'm not looking for that dissension either. If there's a dissension where I got to run the whole show and move Leon out, then you know what? Don't go on the avenue, because we've been taking that stigma out of being inconsistent or toxic or front office clowns. If Bob Meyer works in collaboration with Worldwide Wrestling and everyone that's in place with Leon Rose, Coach Thibodeau, you can have you ask the questions. You ask the questions here. If you want to throw him a little more money, a couple more million than above and beyond any other NBA basketball team to be the general manager, you know what? Money talks, ego walks. You throw that money there. You do still need guys who have basketball relationship, who has worked with the talent. Leon Rose is an agent. I know Worldwide West has been, back channels and reach arounds and all that other nonsense. And of course, we haven't learned it. And I kudos. I give them a pat on the back for not giving in and caving into Utah and Danny Ainge's request last summer. He wanted the farm to bring in a Donovan Mitchell. Would Donovan Mitchell look great in the New York uniform? Absolutely. Alongside Jalen Brunson, what we've seen this postseason and this season from Jalen Brunson and even Donovan Mitchell, the season he had for Cleveland. You imagine replicating that both on this team along with Julius Randle. You're thinking about, Julius Randle or average 25 and 10, regardless if we dislike him or myself. They could say, if he's a headache or not. That's another podcast, another day, and I've done it already, that podcast. My point is, they didn't get fleeced, and maybe some of these general managers around the league don't have the respect on Leon Rose's name, But Scott Perry did have that name and respect, but maybe they feel like he's not in control or had the goal to pull that move. I think Scott Perry's strength is to move the superstar player for assets and building block. He did it in Orlando for the Dwight Howard move, into Los Angeles. Of course, he moved Porzingis, he moved Melo, got some clicks here, got some good pieces. Nothing transcending for the franchise yet, although you could say Julius Randle has helped transcend the franchise. And you could say whatever you want to say back and forth that Julius Randle was a consolation pickup, because we all want, the Knicks were supposed to get Kevin Durant, Zion Williamson, and maybe Kyrie Irving, and it didn't happen that way. But if you got what we got from Julius Randle, a player who comes in and brings his lunch pail and brings his hard hat and goes to work, regardless of we have the warts with him, whatever the case is, but he comes to play, and he brought in a player that brought some Knick pride back. So I got to give Scott Perry his flowers and his kudos there. Who could be possible replacement for the Knicks here? They brought Gunnison Rosa in. Remember, he was the former president of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's in the organization. He might be a candidate for the general manager position. You have him in the building. Of course, we talked about Bob Myers from Golden State Warriors, championship builder, knows connection there, knows that organization, that players, and knows the players around the league. I personally, I don't know. Everyone say it might be a pipe dream. Maybe Myers waits a year here, and does TV, waits out. Maybe he does want the Knick job, but he wants the whole control of the whole enchilada. He wants to see how this season for the Knicks pan out. If the impatient Dolan makes a move where he wants to scrap the front office and he says enough for Leon Rose and bring in Bob Myers and Myers, but then we're doing an all overhaul again. Do you really want that, Knicks fans? I mean, as much as we complain about our coach Tom Thibodeau, Leon Rose, and not bringing a superstar, but they are giving us exciting basketball. After being 20 plus years, since 1999, just making the postseason, in a handful of time, maybe 4 or 5 times since 2000. It's not. It's you want to have your team in it in May, in early spring. You want to know if there's hope, an opportunity to play in these postseasons, not just saying, oh, well, they're going fishing after 82 games. They have bought this here. They have gotten smart players. They have shown us the ability to draft well in the later rounds. There's something building there. Now, is it as our accelerated pace as Knicks fans? No, I'll be honest with you, it's not. I would have loved to see that number 7 pick. And of course, I love Obi Toppin. I do love Obi Toppin. Everyone knows that Obi Toppin is one of my favorite basketball players. But when you pick in that lottery, you got to get a player that helps you transcend. And I love Toppin, but he has not helped transcend. Now, we could, of course, like I said, we could have a podcast if it's Randall's fault. The game plan was trading Julius Randle and having Obi Toppin slide in, but then Randle went above and beyond expectation. We know that already, but you want to stick to a plan. And if you're drafting there, Halliburton would have been a player. And you know what? Hindsight is 2020 because I was fine with the Toppin move. I thought Toppin was going to eventually be Randle's replacement. I understood and who, as a fan, I understood the move, and I was like, you know what, I get it. I'm with it. One thing that behooved this franchise was a point guard. Now we have Jalen Brunson. They went in and addressed that. They gave us that we here season under Scott Perry and Leon Rose, and it showed us that they could collaborate and do good things as an organization moving step forward. I'll give you his as a general manager. His record is 163 games, won and 225 losses under the Knicks general manager. I know we had some really nasty years, that 17-65 year. That landed as RJ Barrett, the 21-49. And then, of course, when we bring in Tom Thibodeau, 41-31. Last year's 37-45. A little bit of a hiccup there. And understand what Perry and the front office tried to do. They wanted to get shooters with Evan Fournier. They got us the shooter that we needed, that we saw in Atlanta. Fournier shot well, but Kemba Walker didn't pan out. And I understood the move for Kemba, bringing in that point guard. I know there was some issues, but you were trying to hit a grand slam with a contact hitter, and it just didn't work out for the Knicks. We know we lived the film, we lived the movie. But then this bounce back, getting that Jalen Rose, regardless if it was Leon Rose back channel, Worldwide West with his reach arounds, whoever it was, but it was collaborated as a group. They win together, they lose together. So I getting them in there, that they seem to kind of collaborate and work. Now, who would you think will replace him? Of course, we just mentioned two of the candidates. Don't be surprised if you could elevate Tom Thibodeau as a general manager. You could, as us fan base, we know what's Tom Thibodeau's ceiling as a head coach. Wouldn't be surprised if they go there, if the Brad Stevens route, where Tom Thibodeau gets elevated off the bench. You get Johnny Bryan in here, and let Johnny Bryan run the team. You could go that route, totally, left field or catches everyone by surprise. Like Tom Thibodeau, he has done the presidency role, and Tom Thibodeau is still a scout of good talent as well. He knows talented players. He's a base basketball lifer. Maybe you could transition him out there, and he doesn't have to go out in that negative way where his expiration date on the court, and we're not calling for his head, as just move him up to the front office as a general manager. And you could bring in bring in and elevate Johnny Bryan as a head coach. That's another option. I don't know if they will bring him as a general manager, but as a general manager and front office guy, Doc Rivers, he's great friends with Tom Thibodeau. I don't think Tom Thibodeau will have any ego there. We're bringing in a Doc Rivers as a general manager into the front office. They work together. They pretty much run almost the same basketball scheme, basketball play there. Maybe that also helps facilitate any other players in the 76ers. Maybe Joel Embiid might ask out. That's a whole other conversation, a whole other video with, who could possibly be landing, trade, all that stuff. But that's another option, a Doc Rivers. Personally, I just want a good basketball man who knows the league, who knows players, who's also a person who knows how to close the deal. Or, always closing. I want someone that knows how to close the deal, get on the phone, make the right calls, and give an offer that they can't refuse. I need a general manager with those kind of persuasion and characteristics to go forward. It's interesting to see because the Knicks got a lot of decisions to make this summer. They, of course, the Josh Hart decision, the very first one. I know that there is no draft pick yet. We traded away our draft pick in the Hart deal. The Dallas pick did not convey. They also could buy back in or trade back in to the late rounds of the first round of the NBA draft. Personally, I think I've been saying before to help cap relief a team like the Los Angeles Lakers at $3 to $4 million, they could actually move a contract and get a late draft pick in and come in. Maybe there's a player that they like defensively or a pure shooter that they could want to come back into the draft and late in the draft that's fallen. And maybe they're high on the board, on the Knicks board. They'll make a move there to get back. Again, the Lakers is the perfect dance partner in the late picks there. Also due to the fact that they need cap relief money. They have to make decisions in signing Austin Reeves and other players on their roster. You make that deal there, or even take some contract. Take a player, maybe they re-sign a Vanderbilt, something there where the Knicks can make sense to come back into that first round to get a pick if they want. You need a general manager in place. And I know they have the right, they have smart guys there, Walt Perrin and others on that organization with Leon Rose. You still need the basketball guy. I know Tom Thibodeau, they'll rely heavily on Tom Thibodeau there, but Tom Thibodeau could sometimes have a blinder. He might be just thinking of defensive players who's going to defend and rebound, but sometimes they want to look sometimes a little bit outside the box, and maybe some scout or a general manager sees, I see an intangible that maybe Thibodeau doesn't see certain intangibles. Sometimes it's always good to have a different point of view, because the more eyes you have around you, around your surroundings, the more you're aware of what's going on. So it'd be interesting to see if they announce a general manager before the NBA draft comes in, also before free agency. You want to do all this in a swift way. I don't know if they will upstage the NBA finals with their conference of getting a general manager in place. I know they have until June 1st before the first game of the finals gets tipped off. And usually a lot of the leagues do not like their coaching or any I know Major League Baseball doesn't like that either. They want to wait to not upstage their finals, the NBA finals or Major League Baseball World Series, etc. So I wanted to see if they will make an announcement and if anyone in mind for a general manager. So maybe those are me personally, those candidates that I think of. Thinking of elevating Tom Thibodeau. You got Rosa in the building, the former Timberwolves general president of basketball for the Timberwolves. You also have Bob Meyer out there and Doc Rivers. Don't shell short on Doc Rivers, former Knick as well. So he's been in the organization. It will be interesting to see if they will even tap him on the shoulders as a general manager. So those are the candidates for Perry. Perry is out. Bob Meyer but Bob Meyer, everyone around the league is saying it's a pipe dream. It's like, I don't know if they, some folks thought about if he resigned, the Knicks job he's doing it for the Knicks job. But man, it's hard to break stability. If you have something why try to fix something that's not broken? I'm not saying the Knicks are perfect as a run organization, but they're not broken. They're doing things. They have a ton of draft picks. Maybe that's something exciting and innovative for a Bob Meyer. Get a lot of draft picks here, where some contracts that could be moved. Fournier, the $15.6 million on Rose, but though also with that, RJ Barrett, he has value. Landell, I hate to say it, has value. Mitchell Robinson, if that's something, if he's looking for, maybe he has a different point of view. But then here's the thing, that if you bring up Bob Myers, is Tom Thibodeau a Bob Meyer head coach? Remember, the general manager needs to have an input, an extension of himself on the court of his style of, or what his style of basketball is. I don't know if they bring about Meyer. It'll be interesting to see. It's telling me that the clock on Tom Thibodeau is starting to tick. I think Leon Rose's clock just started with Perry out the door. I think he's on the clock. I'm not saying he's getting fired or getting chopped, but now the microscope is starting to look towards him. The magnifying glass is starting to look towards the regime now. And I hate to see that, because I like stability. One thing about that, a winning stability. There, regardless of the fact, you got to say that Leon Rose and company, they're winning stability. This is the most winnings, or the most hope that we've had in over 20 years. Think about it. The 54 win Carmelo Anthony team gave us a couple wins there, but there was no young ascending talent along that you built. And of course, we could sit here and say, we could go and point fingers and have a debate about it, and they didn't surround Melo with the right talent, and you're probably correct. But the point is, they didn't execute. They went and they made dumb moves with the Andrea Bargnani move. They made funny moves that didn't make sense. This current regime hasn't made that goofy, nonsensical sense. The one move you want to kill him for, a Kemba Walker, but that was rectified immediately. They just DFA'd him. They didn't just let him, release. Gone. They took a hit, yes, but they didn't cost him any cap money casualty or make a move that will hamper, like how Jared Bargnani gave up a first round pick for him and wasn't really good. So I like that's what stability and what they're showing us. They know what they're doing. We have to trust the process here. But boy, I wouldn't mind them bringing Bob Meyer in here. Seriously, I wouldn't mind Bob Meyer personally, but we shall see there. So thank you guys. I just wanted to show a quick video here on Scott Perry being out, giving you my thoughts there. When I think of Scott Perry, I'm going to think of him as a general manager, that he turned things around. He wasn't afraid of making the trade to remove a popular player and bringing in assets. He is an asset gatherer. He knows how to get the assets. He knows how to get that. He knows how to create cap space when you need it. But one thing I'm not going to give him too much flowers. He couldn't get the big superstar in here. He didn't close out the big superstar, but he knew how to get the team in the right direction to put him in a position to have cap space, picks, and also help him move players. Could you see a little bit of luck? Maybe not, because Mitchell Robinson as second round pick when he was picked, and look at what he's given the Knicks organization. Maybe there's a knife. Maybe he does have a knife for talent, along collaborating with his scouts and trusting his scouts and making the move. Moving Kristaps Porzingis when it was a dumb move. You had to. He didn't want to be here, but what he did, looking forward, his moves opened up the doors for other good things. So Scott Perry, if the Knicks were to win the NBA title in the next 3 years, he has a fingerprint on this. I think he needs to get his kudos and flowers as well when they bring down the Canyon of Heroes. I think Scott Perry has to be given his flowers there. He has a 3-year window, my opinion. After that, it's going to be all different players and this so forth and all. He's also on the books for RJ Barrett drafting RJ Barrett, part of course, getting those type of moves there, helping with the quickly moving Morris for that pick, so forth. So pretty good moves there to asset getter in Scott Perry. I know wherever he goes, he's still a young man, 59 years old, so he'll be somewhere in some NBA office executive. So wish him the luck. And as a Knicks fan, I guess they say once a Knick, always a Knick. So Mr. Scott Perry. Thank you for your services as a general manager as the Knicks. I know we would love that to hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy or possibly even getting to the NBA Finals, but you know what? On to the next one. So I'll see you there when we get here the next general manager of the New York Knicks. We'll make another video. We continue making these videos from time to time. So again, don't forget to hit that like button, share, and we'll see you. May the Knicks be with you on the Return of the Knicks podcast. Peace.